past. Okay, awesome. Oops, sorry. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the unreal past. You don't have to worry about it if you have no idea what this is. You probably do, you just don't know the name of it, okay? So let's begin. And our vocab for this week is about feelings and personality. So if you click this bit.ly link, it will get you to our nice little Quizlet. And this time we have 40 terms for you guys. There's a lot here, okay? Some of them are really simple. They get more and more complicated, I would say, as you go along, okay? So I really recommend this one because it's words that people use on a daily basis almost, okay? Some of them might seem a little bit off, but trust me, people use them. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. Okay, great. Oh, as always, I always forget to say this, but you guys know you can ask any questions in the chat at any point. Okay, so let's start. So what do you use the unreal past to express? So you express situations that are unreal or that you believe to be unreal. So like things like impossible wishes or things that cannot happen at all, there's no possibility of happening, or that you don't think are possible. So like here's the thing, it's about what you believe in. You can be proven wrong, okay? I will show you exactly what that means later, okay? Let's go to the next one. So here we can use the word if, and a hint is to pay attention to using the past. This is a mistake that I make sometimes when I'm speaking, that I forget to use the past, okay? So there's no real set structure for this. Um, it's easy to understand though. And you always use the past, okay? So here are some examples of if in the present, but you're going to see that we still use the past tense. The first one is, if I had time, I would do my homework. This is in the present. It's like, se eu tivesse tempo, eu faria minha lição de casa. Okay, this is right now. Like if I had time right now, I would do my homework. But I don't have time. Clearly, I don't have time, okay? Or if I didn't have a final, I would go to the party. So you have a final at some point in the future, and the party's tonight, and you're like, oh, if I didn't have a final, I would go to the party, okay? So you can see that like we're using the future. We're using the past to explain something that cannot happen in the future, okay? Now, if you came to the party next Friday, you could meet my girlfriend. So you see that the party, so let's draw over here. So the party is in the future next Friday, but the verb right here is in the past. And that's why it's called the unreal past, because you're using the past tense for something that's not actually happening in the past. It's happening either in the future or right now. Okay? So that's why it's a little bit hard to remember sometimes to use the past. Okay, but let's move on. Now we're going to talk about if, but in the past. And you see like the little differences that exist between them. If I had time, I would have done my homework. So, had might sound a little bit weird. It's the same word twice, but that's just how it is. Because if you go back, if I had time And now you're adding the had once again. If I had had time, I would have done my homework. So what is this expressing? So let's say you get to school like Monday morning and your teacher's like, "Where's your homework?" And you say to him, "If I had had time over the weekend, I would have done my homework." Se eu tivesse tido tempo durante o final de semana, eu teria feito minha lição de casa, okay? So you see how we're talking about the past now, but it's something that didn't happen in the past, okay? Let's clear this and go to the next one. If I didn't have a final, I would have gone to the party. So here, the party already happened, and so did the final, okay? And this is in the future. You meet up with someone like on the last day of school, and they're like, "Oh my god, why didn't you go to the party?" And you go, "Oh, if I didn't have a final, I would have gone to the party." Okay, and the would have, like, we talked about this during our other class. Yeah, it's all like it's part of like the subjunctive. Okay, so let's go to the next example. If you had come to the party last Friday, you would have met my girlfriend. So, once again, now the party was last Friday and you didn't go. And you see how this is a very like unreal situation, something that cannot happen, especially because the party already happened and you didn't go and you didn't meet my girlfriend, okay? So, this is the difference between the if in the past and if in the present, okay? And then you have to discern between using didn't and had, because you see, like, if I had come, okay, and then you have if I didn't have a final. You can also say if I hadn't had a final, but that if I didn't have a final is a little bit more usual, okay? But that comes with practice, okay? There's no set rule exactly. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to talk about if only. So it's the word if again, but now you join it with only. And this shows regret. It's something that you wish you had done. Okay, once again, no particular structure, and remember to use the past. If only I were taller. This is something you wish you were. You can't make yourself taller. That's something that can happen. So you're like, "Oh, if only I were taller." You can always say, "Oh, I wish I were taller." Also, key thing here. I singular, were plural. That is like a weird thing that happens in English. If you're talking about unrealistic situations and using like the subjunctive, you are going to use were with I. Like, "Oh, I wish I were there." I wish if only I were there. If I were there. Okay? You always use the were paired with the I. Because remember that when we're talking about the present, it's I am, which doesn't really have like a past or anything else. It just is. I am. Okay. So this am here from the verb to be is becoming the were. Okay. This is only the case for this type of structure. Okay. If I were there, if it's only for the unreal past. Otherwise, you're going to use was, like I was standing. However, if you want to say if I were standing, okay? This is a very common grammatical error that many people make. Even native speakers, they're very guilty of this. So if you say, "Oh, if I were there, they will be very impressed," because that is the correct way and not a lot of people know it. So now, if only I had studied. So you took a test, you got it back, you got like a 50, and you're like, oh my God, if only I had studied, then I would have passed this, okay? So once again, past. If only John had finished high school. So John didn't finish high school, can't finish it anymore. He's 23. Um, so this, like, if only doesn't have a past and a present because, like, because like it represents regret. So it's always talking about things that didn't happen in the past, or that you wish you didn't do, or that you wish you did, okay? So it's always talking about the past, like you're in the present talking about something that you wish you would have done, okay? The next one, if only I had a green card. Like, oh, I wish I had one. If only I had a green card. If only I hadn't left the US. Like, I didn't want to leave, but I was forced to leave, and I was like, oh, if only I had stayed, okay? Uh, so you're expressing regret, things that you regret doing or not doing. Now, I wish. This is very similar to if only, but I wish can be just like some random desire that you have. It doesn't have to be a regret, okay? So let's see how this works. I wish I were taller. Like, it's something you wish. You don't regret how short you are. You're just like, oh, I wish I had a couple more inches on me. I wish I were in the US. Okay, so if only and I wish can be used like both ways. Okay, but if only is used more when you regret something, okay? I wish she would spend more time with me. I wish we weren't living together. And last, I wish I were older. So you see, these are things, for example, if you say, oh, I wish we weren't living together, this is not something that is impossible to happen, okay? It's just not happening right now. Right now, this is not true, okay? I wish I were older. And then you see this is something that is impossible to like make happen. It's just like natural course of things. I wish she would spend more time with me. Remember the word would to represent the subjunctive, okay? Because it's not a set thing. It's just like out in the open. It's things that you're wishing for, okay? So remember to always use the past and always use the subjunctive when you're talking about the unreal past, okay? Now let's talk about it's time. So this construction shows more impatience when you're like, and then I'll show you like a little expression that people use a lot to show like basically impatience and how it works, okay? So you can say, oh, it's time the kids moved out. So you're like, oh, come on, you're like 23, you gotta move out, okay? Or if you say, it's time you went to bed, it's like 4 a.m. and your friend wants to party more and you're like, no, it's time you went to bed. Like, já é hora de ir pra cama, faz tempo já que você devia tomar cama, or something like that. So that's how you use it's time. Or like, oh, it's time David got a job, okay? So you see, once again, these are all in the past. So like, got, went, moved, okay, all in the past. And then this is the expression I was talking about. It's about time. So when something takes a really, really long time to happen, for example, when you, let's say you order a plate of fries, just like a side of fries, and it takes 2 hours for them to make the fries. And then when the fries get to your table, you're like, oh my God, it's about time these fries were ready, okay? So it's about time shows that you're very, very, very impatient, okay? And then, for example, if, let's say the kids move out at the age of 30, and then when they move out, you go, oh, it's about time, huh? So it's something very common that people use all the time. And it has a very specific intonation that shows impatience. Okay. So today's class was a little bit shorter because I have a meeting to get to soon, but I have time for questions if you have any. Do you want me to explain anything more in depth? Actually, I don't think one of the slides saved. No, it didn't save. So I'll explain it in this thing right here. So the slide that didn't save is the would rather. Okay, and this shows preference. Okay, so what does that mean? So when you say, oh, I would rather we went to a fast food restaurant, comma, I don't like fancy food. So do you see, like, this shows that you prefer the fast food. Okay, some you can also say, instead of would rather, you can say I would sooner we went to we went to a fast food restaurant. Okay, this is not used as commonly in the United States. Okay, it's I would say that's more common in Britain, but I would rather, I would rather is very, very common, and it's also important to use the fast. Okay, there's a question in the chat. Let's see. Okay, Victor, the class is gonna be on the on the Google Classroom, so you can go back to it at any point. Okay, usually I fill the time with the questions, and there's not a lot of you here today. So if you have any specific questions, please. Yes, I can explain the expression, it's about time again. Awesome. I'm glad you guys are having questions. Let me fix this because it's annoying. Okay, so let's go back. When someone says, let's talk about it's about time. Okay, so when someone says it's about time, you can know that they're either joking or they are very, very mad or impatient. Impaciente, okay? So you can say it's about time they moved out. This means basically the same thing as this, okay? If you put the about here, it's just like a little bit more urgent in a way. And when you just say it's about time, it's always in response to something. So let's say you order something online, or let's say you're expecting a letter. Você está esperando uma carta that someone sent to you like a month ago. And then the letter finally arrives, and you're like, oh, it's about time. Do you understand how it works, the expression? Yes, no? Yes, awesome. Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to explain. Yes, Eduardo, good way to put it. So I will go back to that slide just so it makes it easier for the people watching it later to understand. Okay, let's go to I wish. So I'll type this out. This is actually a really, really good catch that you just had. So you can always use I wish instead of if only, but not always use if only in the place of I wish because it doesn't show regret. Yes, you're 100% right, Eduardo. This is a great catch. Thank you for sharing with us. Okay, this is a great way to put it. Torres, yes. So if you say like, oh, já era hora, it's the same thing as saying it's about time, okay? And yeah, good job, good job. Any other questions you might have? Or any observations like Eduardo and Torres made? These are always helpful, guys. If you pick up on something like Eduardo did on this, okay, this is a very good way to put it that I couldn't think about on my own. So it's always, always, always good to get people involved in the class. If there are no other questions, guys, feel free to leave. Just do what you wish to do, okay? Sorry today's class was a little bit shorter. I just have a really important meeting that I have to get to. I hope you got something out of it. This is something that sometimes I get tripped up with, and I bet Mari does too. And even native speakers will use the present instead of the past. So it's important. It's good that you know, okay?
Okay, thank you very much for the class of today.
Yeah, of course. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good week.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for coming. Have a good week, everyone. Okay, let's stop the recording.